morning. Here's a little mental health tip for you today. Don't co-sign every thought in your brain. Your brain is a computer, okay? It's just processing information. It's constantly trying to process. But the only way that it really has, the only mechanism that it has to process is duality. I like it, I don't like it. I want to go, I don't want to go. I'm tired, I'm not tired. My body needs food, my body does not need food. You understand? So when your brain is trying to figure out more complex things that actually exist at the soul level that your brain cannot solve, you're going to start thinking things that you're like, why am I thinking that? Like, what? And I want you to know, don't co-sign that, because that's not you. That's just your brain doing what it does. You, my friend, you are just the observer of that. So don't co-sign every thought in your head. So you've heard the phrase mind, body, soul. Mind, body, soul. And we have been taught that we are mind, body, soul. The difference is we were taught incorrectly. We have a mind, we have a body, we are soul. We have a mind, we have a body, we are soul. So what does that mean? That means that the body that we were given and even the mind that we have does not define who we are. I anticipate this video being multiple parts, and they're going to be posted consecutively one after another because I want all of you to get this message. It's very important. In life, we are only here to learn the lessons that we need to learn so that we can get to a higher place. But there are two kinds of lessons that we learn. Some are for the mind, which is what we have, not who we are, and other lessons are for the soul, and that's who we are. The way that we fuck up as human beings is we apply lessons that are only for the mind to the soul, and lessons that are for the soul we apply to the mind. And I'm going to give you a very simplistic way of looking at this so that you can understand. This is the easiest example that I can give you. When you're a child, your mind is still developing. Your mind doesn't know how to be human yet. Your mind is still trying to make sense of your 3D environment. And let's say as a child, you notice a hair curling iron. You notice it. Your mind says, I'm gonna focus on this hair curling iron, or I'm not gonna focus on this hair curling iron. Let's say you choose to focus on it. The mind says, I'm either gonna touch this hair curling iron or I'm not gonna touch this hair curling iron. Let's say you decide, see, it's just duality, I am or I'm not, to touch the hair curling iron. You grab it with your whole hand and the body tells you, fuck, that's hot. And it sends that signal to the mind, fuck, that's hot, it's burning me. And you let it go. Now, this is just simply a lesson for your mind. Your mind just learned what a hair curling iron is, that it can physically burn your body, and that you do not like being burned. That's a mind lesson. Here is how we wrongfully apply those lessons to our soul. Sometimes we internalize these lessons and say, well, I must not be very smart if I allowed myself to be burned. Incorrect. Incorrect. The lesson was only for the mind to understand how to navigate more safely in a human experience. It has absolutely nothing to do with who you actually are, which is only your soul. It's like trying to play soccer with basketball rules. It's just not how you play soccer. You have to play soccer with a soccer rule book. You have to play basketball with a basketball rule book. Does that make sense? So you don't apply lessons for the mind to the soul, and you don't apply lessons for the soul to the mind. Burning your hand has nothing to do and is not a measure of who you are. It was just a lesson to be learned. In the next video, I'm going to explain to you how we apply soul lessons to the mind. are the ways that we apply lessons that are for our soul to the mind, and we think it's a decision that we need to make when it is really a soul lesson that we need to learn and feel. In the previous example, I explained to you how the mind works, and that the mind is just duality. The mind is, I like it, I don't like it. I want to see it, I don't want to see it. I think it's cool, I don't think it's cool. That's what the mind is. But the soul is the essence of who we are. And the biggest way we learn soul lessons is through our relationships. So the example that I'm going to give you is a common one that people may deal with in relationships, whether they're romantic or non-romantic. For this example, I'm going to use a romantic example. Let's say that you, as a soul being, come into union with another soul. Let's say you're having a relationship, a romantic relationship with another person, and you and that person decide that you are going to be physically monogamous within your relationship. You and that other person decide that you're going to be physically monogamous in your relationship, which means that you have made the soul contract with that individual to be exclusive. Then you find yourself in a situation where you're attracted to another human being. Why? Because you're still a human, so you're still having an animal experience. So you finding other people attractive is highly expected, highly normal. And then your mind is faced with a decision if you're going to act on these physical sensations or if you're not going to act on the physical sensations. Duality. I either am going to act on it or I'm not going to act on it. And let's say this individual chooses to act on it. That was a decision that you made in the mind. But you made a soul commitment with your partner to not do that. And so the ways that we try to escape that soul lesson is by saying, well, that's not the way that I felt. And just because I did this and I made this decision, I don't feel that way towards this person, so therefore it shouldn't matter. That's the decision that you're making in your mind. You're trying to rationalize a soul lesson in the mind with duality by saying, I do or I don't care about this. It does or it does not matter to me. It was important or it wasn't important. It was just a physical thing that I needed to do, and that's it. When the issue is the commitment that you made with your soul and that other person. And the lesson that you need to look at is, what does this mean about me and my soul to violate this level of integrity and this trust that I created with another person?
I want to preface this by saying that I am really trying to get a better outlook on life. I'm trying. And I was just narrowly starting to feel a little bit better. Everybody's loving comments have really touched me, but it is a troubling time. And this is what gets me circling the drain again. I'm just trying to figure out when I gave off like emotional supervillain slayer vibes. Like, I don't feel like I did that. I feel like I'm being gaslit into believing that I signed up to deal with all of this darkness and all of these hurtful people off the strength of not being like those people. And for what? To prove that I'm not like them? To prove that I deserve better than these kind of people? What if we just didn't? Finally remembered what I was going to say. This debilitating lack of motivation when you're so used to like appreciating that you're like a go-getter type of person and like you make things happen all the time. Like, I get it, how it's the ultimate test of self-love. Like, can you still love yourself if you're nothing like you thought you were or like you were before?
Been thinking this for a while, and after all that has happened, this needs to be said. The reason why there are so many starseeds and light workers here right now, it's all clear to me, is because this is the spiritual war that is actually happening. Everything that we just saw at Astro World and other shows and the things that we're seeing in entertainment, this is why you're seeing certain people break through in entertainment via social media. This is why you're going to start seeing a lot of twin flames come together. Because as divine femininity becomes the primary force of the side for good in this warfare, you're going to see more twin flames come together, because it's that power of that union that's going to win what's going on here. Like, I see it now. This is my industry conspiracy theory. I could be dead fucking wrong, but if somebody takes me out after this, I was right. So I feel like there are two sides, or maybe multiple sides, to this warfare that is going on. And I feel like, this is my personal opinion, that Kanye West has been so far along in this warfare battle, longer than many people have been paying attention to it, and is like on one side of this warfare. Keep in mind, I do feel like celebrities are mostly pawns. Like, I don't feel like they're shot calling and they're really making these decisions. Like, they're not the people making these decisions, but they are on sides of whatever is going on, right? My theory is that you have people like Drake and Travis who are on like team dark as fuck, like team evil. Like, I want power. That's what it is. And this is why you saw conflict rise up between people like Drake and Kanye, and even people like Drake and Jay-Z. What if Kanye and people like XXXTentacion, before he was taken out, because remember, there's that conspiracy theory that connects Drake to his killing. He was just collaborating with Kanye prior to his death. It's interesting that Kanye does this whole Sunday service. I mean, if you listen to Sunday service music, it is the personification of light and beauty and spirit. You've heard him speak about what the frequency of 808 really does to people, etc. You know he fucking knows. And then you see what happens when he does Donda at the Mercedes-Benz. Like, and you're like, wait, that kind of seems like some ceremonial ritualistic shit too. But what if it's not against people, it's against the other side of whatever is going on? Like, I don't even think they view us as people. I literally think they just view us as sources of energy in fighting this battle. It's fucked up. Like I said, I could be wrong. But what if I'm right? I leave this with y'all. I will explain further, because I was thinking my thought and saying my thought at the same time. I want to start this off by giving you a Kanye West quote, in that I don't agree with 100% of what anyone does. So before you jump in the comment section and talk about X did this, Kanye was on stage with this person, there's no way they could be good. No, shut the fuck up, because I don't care. I don't care about that. I'm only talking about this one issue. In this spiritual war, it is my belief that people like Drake and people like Travis Scott are just on team dark, team power, team evil, period. I feel like people like Jay-Z play the game. You know how when you have to work a job and you're a person of color and you kind of have to play the game to deal with white people? Kind of like that. But again, it's not innocent. However, I think that people like Kanye West are like a rogue vigilante. Like, and he all but tells us this is what he's doing. Okay? And let me show you in these lyrics. This is from the song Jail off the Donda album. When Kanye is saying, I'll be honest, we're all liars. I'm pulled over and I got priors. Guess who's going to jail tonight? God's gonna post my jail tonight. That's him saying, I'm not innocent. Shots have been called on me and I've taken them. Okay? Even Jay-Z basically admits it. This song is about the darkness in the night, right? Jay-Z says, who gonna post my bail? Lord help me. We jump down, not me with all these sins, casting stones. So they're basically saying, we're involved, but we're not really on the side that you think we are. We're playing this game. And I think that Jay-Z and Kanye got into it because Kanye went off the script. Because he's like, fuck this script. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. And so he figured, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to be a vigilante in this war. And that's where his alliances become fuzzy. But the reason why I brought up X is because I believe that X was on the side of light. He presented dark. He presented scary. But I believe in his soul, he was on that side. And I think that's why he was taken out. That's what I think.
This is the biggest lesson I'm learning this week. It is a choice whether you want to take on what is yours or what is not yours. And I have realized that I don't care to take on what is not mine to carry. I don't have the bandwidth emotionally for other people's shit. And it keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And what I mean by like other people's shit, not that I can't be there for the people that I love and care about, not like that. It's like, I'm not going to internalize what someone else is doing, saying, not doing, saying, and feel like it's my issue. I'm not going to internalize everything that's happening in my environment, in pop culture, and feel like it's my issue and my burden to carry and burn the flame. Fuck that. No, it's not mine, and I'm not finna pick it up. I'm going to enjoy my day. It's sun shining outside, and I'm going to worry about me. Yeah.
Here's what a lot of y'all are missing about Kanye West, because he speaks very clearly. And in this 2019 interview with Zane Lowe, he was trying to put y'all on.
There's going to be some silly attacks.
Why do you say that? Are you talking about spiritual
Attacks
warfare
and
again?
just spiritual warfare, and then also just societal control attacks. I wasn't afraid to speak my mind when I didn't own my master's. I own my master's. You think I ain't gonna talk my mind right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's like everyone, no one is God. Everyone bases their opinions on a group of propaganda-esque images fed to us from the very first cartoon or the very first cereal box that we saw in a grocery store. And our environment, friends, schools, religion, country, music that we listen to, all informs our opinion and what side we're on. We've been herded into an idea of blue or red, right, left. But there's actually a time when we were closer to heaven, when we were 6 months before we learned how to speak, before things got so complicated, where we actually had more in common. All of these things that separate us, it's like when you don't spend time talking to somebody for a long time, you start to build up more and more reasons why you shouldn't be talking to them.
There's anxiety in it, and distance creates that anxiety.
The distance has created anxiety. We are the same human beings. We are gods. And that man versus machine is man is the machine.
The reason why you were unable to relate to Kanye West then is because Kanye is a high spiritual being. He's been living in the age of Aquarius for a very long time now. He stopped trying to relate to people the way that they're used to because there's really no point, because they weren't on his level. I mean, even as an educator, you get tired of trying to lead people to water all the time and they don't want to drink. They want to spit it out. He says there's actually a time when we were closer to heaven. He's talking about your highest self. He's talking about Christ consciousness and the literal time, the age before the age of Aquarius, the Aryan age, where that was the consciousness. The light cannot exist without the dark. That is the age of Aquarius. He's been there for a long time. Nobody was there with him. And maybe if you would go back and listen to certain things, maybe Yeezus and certain things now, you would view it differently. But he's still a human having a human experience and does 3D things that are, Now, before I can talk about how I think the Kardashians fit into this, I have to answer the question, why Kim? Why
Kim and Kanye, and I think this is going to be my favorite part of this entire thing. We can agree. We are all spirits and souls. We can agree that we reincarnate here. We can agree that we are all on separate soul journeys. Yes? So the reason why Kanye is a super evolved spiritual being is because it's part of his soul journey. When we reincarnate here, we are one soul that splits into two human experiences: the divine feminine experience and the divine masculine experience. This is also known as twin flames. It is my belief that Kim and Kanye are twin flames. It is my belief that Kim and Kanye are one soul having two experiences polarized at the level of the mind, which is the twin flame journey. Scientists have called this duality or relativity. This is metaphysics. Some common characteristics of twin flame journey. It is my belief that Kanye West is the divine feminine counterpart who is consciously aware of what's going on, and Kim is the divine masculine counterpart who is not consciously aware but energetically responds to the connection. Having a passionate first meeting. Like meeting on the set of a Complex shoot and then having a passionate conversation for like 7 to 9 hours or something like that. Going through periods of separation and having karmic relationships. The purpose of everyone's twin flame journey is different. Depending on whether you're an air sign, a water sign, an earth sign, a fire sign, what your twin flame is. It can also depend on your Venus placements because those may be the energies that are interacting. But the purpose of these relationships is to trigger your spiritual awakening. They're oftentimes experienced through romantic relationships, and a lot of times twin flames end up together, but they don't have to, and that's not the purpose. They often go in and out of separation and unity. I believe we're seeing them now in a period of separation. One of my favorite things Kanye ever said about Kim is there's nothing more that I love than me, you, and me and you. And that's so twin flame because that is what it means to love her to him, is to love himself. And if you like looking at celebrity soul connections, you can venture over to my YouTube channel where I do that, link in bio. But one thing's for certain, this relationship was meant to be, and there's absolutely nothing that could have kept them apart. I don't believe that Kim holds him back out of evil intention. It's out of fear. It's also because she's the runner and he's the chaser in the relationship. And it's because it's a part of their journey. If you were on TikTok during the pandemic, then you were probably a part of the conversation that we were all having, basically deconstructing every last foundational value we were raised on in the world. For the first time, most of us were quiet enough to hear our own thoughts, and we're questioning the ways we grew up, thinking everything was good, bad, sin, sacrifice, positive, negative, attractive, unattractive. And we've collectively been in breakdown ever since, trying to make sense of the path forward. However, along the way, there's been key physical manifestations of what is happening to the world consciously in our physical reality. One of these physical manifestations being Kim and Kanye. Both of these individuals have served as disruptors, whether completely going against the ideals of the age of Aquarius or perverting them. Only in my theory, Kim is the divine masculine and Kanye is the divine feminine. Kanye was giving very much divine feminine energy. He was giving, I'm going to wear this pink shirt. I'm going to even question my own ingrainment in homophobia. I'm going to use auto-tune. I know he wasn't the first, but he definitely challenged what a rapper was supposed to look like and be like based on his perceived masculinity. But Kim, Miss Mama, said, oh, this is what the patriarchy wants? This is what hyper-masculinity wants? Well, baby, I'm going to give it to you 3,000%. And every last tool that you use to degrade me, I'm going to monetize based on the parameters that you've set up in this society. And if you can get in your wholeness bag real quick, you can see how both viewpoints are rather compelling. And if you saw my other video, you understand my theory that these two individuals, among others, are twin flames. Let's look a little deeper into that. As I mentioned before, Kim is a life path 22 and Kanye is a life path 11. Pause to read. Life path number 22, pragmatic, capable of spinning wild dreams into concrete reality. Lofty goals brought down to earth and made into something you can touch. Kind of like having no talent and then becoming the most talked about figure almost ever. Life path 11, pause to read. Most intuitive of all numbers, connection to your subconscious, to gut feeling and knowledge without rationality. Can also be extremely self-sabotaging. I digress. If there's anyone in the Kardashian family that is willing to be malleable and change, it's Kim. She's the first one who's willing to evolve with the times. But who do you think is the most resistant?
I'm just gonna say it. If you still think astrology is about talking about stars and clouds, you are not smart. You really feel like you're smarter than something that has been used for centuries that billionaires use to make moves? You? This is take two for this. I want us to look at why we have the concept of power couples fucked up and how Beyonce has been trying to get it straight for us for, 25 plus years now, okay? You know how the male birds in the wild are prettier and more colorful because it's their job to attract the female, correct? So he goes out, gets stronger, builds his nest, and when he's ready, he goes and he courts the female bird. Well, what do you think the female bird was doing the entire time that the male was doing that? I'll tell you what she wasn't doing. She wasn't a homeless bird. She had her own nest, okay? There was worms in that bitch to eat. Her little chick friends was coming over to hang out, and she had her own life and her own day-to-day. In order for you to attract your divine opposite, whether you are female or male, divine masculine is not gender specific, right? You have to be in your own divinity, okay? So how does that relate to Beyonce? Beyonce's entire career has been trying to get divine feminines to realize and step into their own divinity. It's only when you do that, it's only when you take control of your own life and you don't expect anyone to do anything for you, is when you will attract the proper divine masculine energy into your life. And that is what creates the power couple. But what y'all need to understand is it comes first from a divine feminine energy because you are source. You are source energy. You understand? The mother. Lemonade, you feel me? Diva, okay, I'm saying a lot, but I feel like you get what I'm saying. We have to start understanding that there is no glory whatsoever. There's no honor in not having your own. There's none. There's none. You will not have peace. You will not have what you really want in your life if you don't have your own and bring your own to the table when you want to sort of, come into union with another person. And that's the same thing. That's the same thing that women, divine feminines, are asking of masculines now. We are triggering them to step up now, whether it's via TikTok and conversations or whatever it is, because we are evolving consciously as divine feminines, okay? But please understand, remember what Beyonce said, have your own life. Make your own money. Depend on no one else to give you what you want. And then you will find the masculine who can match that energy. All these other masculine energies who are crying and upset about your independence are not your equal. You understand? They're not your equal. So just don't even waste the time on it. All right, let's do it. The Divine Feminine Journey via Beyonce albums. Like most of us divine feminines, Beyonce's school of life was in Destiny's Child, and she had to grow up, come into her talent and her power, and realize that she inevitably had to stand out on her own. This is an experience that I think a lot of divine feminines can relate to in one way or another when we break out of the conditioning of fitting into the crowd and step into the initial start of our divinity of being our highest selves. And during this time, you may even have a karmic relationship or two. But for many, your biggest initiation into the divine feminine journey is meeting a twin flame. And you basically lose your ever-loving mind. A la Crazy in Love, Baby Boy, it hits you in a way
that is so different, and it's supposed to because it's designed to trigger you. And then we kind of know what happens next. For one reason or another, things fall apart. The runner-chaser dynamic begins to commence, and a lot of the dark, wounded areas within the divine feminine start to get explored. It's in this space where you start exploring your self-worth more, irreplaceable. Your sexuality, freakum dress. Your self-worth, your self-respect with songs like Listen, even Doing the Most with songs like Sugar Mama. And then eventually you reach this place where you get into the real work. By the time we get to I Am Sasha Fierce, we are going through Dark Night of the Soul on one album with Disappear. If I Were a Boy, Broken Hearted Girl. But where it really gets good is that the flip side of the album is literally dealing with the battle of duality. The duality within self, the duality within life, relationships, the world. On this side, you have diva, single ladies, when you're really starting to understand your power and who you are to embrace both sides of yourself. Then we get into the integration period, which is not talked about enough. When you start to try to implement new teachings and get out old teachings, start over, maybe reconcile a little bit, and really start to do the work that a lot of divine feminines are doing right now. I'm telling you, revisit this album and give school and life a chance, okay? But this is the period where your divine feminine really starts to give birth. And it still doesn't stop once you've reached the height of self-love and appreciation and admiration and being comfortable in your sexuality and knowing that your sexuality is power and what it means in your relationships with other people and in your romantic relationships. It can also trigger a reckoning in your life where old energies that don't serve you, including people, need to be removed. Then like a queen, you receive it and give it all back. I just think there's so much misinformation out there about twin flames, and anything could be possible, really, at this point. But this notion that people have two twin flames, I don't buy that. And here's why. You can totally come into contact with divine masculine energy that's not your twin flame and have this sort of push-pull dynamic. Like, that's just a karmic relationship. I think that people are missing the soul journey aspect of what it means to have a twin flame and getting really, really stuck in the relationship and romantic aspect, because in a lot of relationships that does exist, but it doesn't have to. That's not the point of it even. And it's like when I listen to some interpretations and people are hyper focused on how the relationship shapes you and teaches you and hurts you and da-da-da-da. Like, yes, these dynamics exist in twin flame relationships, but they also exist in karmic relationships and can also exist in soulmate connections if that connection is meant to teach you something so that you can get to the next level. Like, all any of this is about is soul journeys. But I just feel like if meeting your twin flame is a part of your journey, because it isn't for everyone, you have one. Like, scientifically, you have one soul, two polarized experiences. And it's really about your soul's journey.